Assalamu alaikum, folks. Can everybody hear me? I guess you can. I just wanted to thank you all for your time, your participation in this event, and I think you'll be enlightened with my esteemed colleagues that I'm going to introduce as we go along. So we are at a digital paradox, given all the innovations that are coming up with generative AI. We're going to talk about that, how that impacts our personal lives and work lives as well, and how we kind of strike a balance between the two. So thank you, everybody. Just by way of introduction, as you heard, my name is Amjad Khan. I am an executive director with Microsoft, been with Microsoft 18 years, started in New York, and last 7 years I've been in Dubai. I'm responsible for the modern work and cloud business, including AI in Middle East. So it's really an honor and privilege to be here amongst my esteemed colleagues and you folks as well. So what I wanted to talk about is, generative AI, it is kind of a double-edged sword. People are worried about it in terms of impacting their roles, their jobs, and what have you. But at the same time, it gives an immense opportunity for us to, be more productive, be more collaborative. And that is what we're going to talk about. How do we strike the balance between the two? And at Microsoft, we release an annual Work Trend Index report. One was released on May 8th, in which we poll about 30,000 users across 31 different countries. And the feedback from them is amazing. We ran one right after COVID, and because after COVID, if you recall, there was a lot of people who were kind of burning the midnight oil. There was a lot of stress. People were working late. And that survey, compared to the one that we just released recently, there are some changes, but the key here is that 3 years ago, there was no AI in the mainstream, but now it's become prevalent. And what we have seen is in this most recent report is that employees are demanding AI at work. So you've heard the term bring your own device, BYOD, now it's BYOAI, meaning that bring your own AI. So we have seen like 75% of the employees, they'll bring their own AI to work, and they're demanding that from their employees as well. At the same time, we have seen 79% of the leaders believe that their companies need to adopt AI, but at the same time, they're not sure that their leadership is ready to plan and execute on it. So that's something that we all are thinking in terms of when we talk to our customers, how do our customers implement and have a plan that brings AI that is secure, and because there's a lot of concern about privacy and security. So that is one of the main themes. The second is for employees, AI raises the bar, so it kind of levels the playing field in terms of employees being able to access more technology, more skills, and that helps them break the kind of the ceiling from a career standpoint, and Zainab is going to allude on that a little bit. And we have seen Microsoft owns LinkedIn, and we have run a survey, and over the last 1 year, we have seen an increase of 140 times the skills listed as Copilot and ChatGPT in profiles of users of LinkedIn who post their profiles. So 142 times there's been an increase in terms of postings for that. So it means that employers are also looking for people with skills. And lastly, we're talking about AI power users. So based on the survey that we have done over the last 1 year, we have seen that if a user uses AI at work 11 minutes a day for 11 weeks consecutive, they get hooked onto it, then they can't work without it. I personally have been using for close to a year, and honestly, every day on my phone, on my laptop, it's something that I use every day. And we have seen that there's a monthly savings of about 10 hours. If you quantify that based on the average hourly salary of an employee and 10 hours, you get the ROI in terms of embracing AI within the workforce. So with that said, what I wanted to do is introduce my panelists here. I'll start with Dr. Rumman. She is renowned for her work in AI and ethics and AI principles. So I'll turn it over to you, if you don't mind quickly introducing yourself, and then we'll turn it over to Jim and Zainab.
Sure. My name is Dr. Rumman Chowdhury. I am currently the United States Science Envoy for Artificial Intelligence, meaning that I am a scientific representation of, how we're thinking about AI in the U.S. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of a tech nonprofit called Humane Intelligence. I'm a quantitative social scientist and a data scientist by background, and I have built responsible AI practices at Accenture, as well as Twitter.
Amazing. And Dr. Rumman is being quite modest. She's been named in the top 100 AI influencers worldwide, and she's in the BBC 100 as well. So wanted to call that out. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Jim, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Salam alaikum. My name is Jim Hogan. I'm the Chief Innovation Evangelist for Google Cloud. And my job is really simple because I just reversed my title. I evangelize innovation. No, I'm also a joke maker. I'm sorry. So really what I focus on is not product. I focus on leading with outcomes that customers are looking to achieve. And I focus on the culture that they need to be able to deliver on those outcomes. I'm autistic myself, and I'm an autism activist. I talk about the world being a very scary place for me and navigating through. And that's how I help companies understand that the neurodiversity of all their entire employee base is extremely important to put the collective brain together to deliver on the outcomes that they're looking to deliver to. So I very rarely talk about products because my focus is just concentrating on making sure that the humans involved in making those changes have the right culture that's going to support them to do that. So that's just a little bit about me. I stayed under my minute. I did what I'm supposed to do.
Amazing, Jim. Thank you so much. And it's great to see two folks from Microsoft surrounding Jim from Google. So when it comes to AI, generative AI, technology, we are all brothers and sisters up in arms together. Zainab, over to you.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. It's really great to be here with all of you, with this really great, esteemed panelists. My name is Zainab Alamin. I am the VP of Digital Transformation, or inside Microsoft, we call it National Technology Officer, NTO. In every large subsidiary that Microsoft has, there is one NTO. My role, our role, we have a community. And my role is to ensure technology adoption at a national level. So I work with government, regulators, stakeholders to make sure that we drive national initiatives to ensure technology adoption, especially for emerging technologies, AI, etc. My background is computer science, and I have been working most of my career in the health sector. And then I moved into really digital and deep tech. It's really inspiring to be here with all of you. And maybe I'm considered one of the few, if not the first, woman CIO in Saudi Arabia in the government sector.
Amazing, amazing. So Zainab, again, if there are any students or young audience here, she's a role model, being a local Saudi woman, what she has achieved in her career. It is really inspiring, and she should be a role model for the young generation in terms of what she has, the niche that she has created for herself. And she's heavily involved, we'll get to that, but she's heavily involved with the Saudi government as well. She's going to talk more about that as well. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Rumman. Rumman, I know one of the reasons that you said, reasons to believe was around the government in terms of regulations, standards, best practices. So how do you see the government being able to cater to the public, right, and in a secure, safe environment, at the same time adhering to all the best practices when we talk about security, compliance, and so on and so forth? If you don't mind elaborating on that.
Yes, of course. Well, one of the things, we were given a little homework assignment in advance of this panel, and we had to write 150 words about 3 different things. And as you pointed out, that's one of the things one of my reasons to believe. So I think it is very interesting that we're all getting together, civil society, government, corporations, at a global level, to think through the impact of artificial intelligence, not just as a technology, but as a socio-technical tool. So socio-technical meaning a technology that exists in concert with society, our cultural institutions, government institutions. So seeing that level of global focus in such early days of technology adoption, I think is a very positive sign. We're not waiting until we have at scale very sophisticated and advanced systems and then worrying about what happens. What we're doing is we're thinking about it today. You know, I come out of conversations where people are thinking about the future of work, the future of education. A lot of the panels and discussions you're seeing today, it's very forward thinking because we don't necessarily have the level of AI sophistication that we're quite sold in like science fiction movies, right? But if we did get there, we would want to make sure that we're channeling it in a way that's positive. And one of my reasons to believe is thinking through the fact that all of these groups are actually getting together on equal footing to address these issues proactively.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your insight. So with that, I'll turn it over to Zainab. Zainab, I know that you're heavily involved with the government in Saudi around AI and in general, but also you get asked questions, which I do too, by the way, around people being worried about their roles, their skills when it comes to AI. I remember back in the early 90s when computers became more prevalent, a lot of people were worried about them losing their jobs. In fact, the contrary happened, that it opened up so many new avenues, so many new doors. So would love to hear from you. What are your thoughts?
Okay, thank you, Amjad. And really, this is the question that we always get asked, and there is always a debate of what AI will bring. What will all of this emerging technology, will it replace people? Would it end jobs or create new jobs? And the answer really is that it's not, we are dealing with a new reality with AI, with all of its potential and all of the opportunity that it presents. It will create and empower much more people than the existing that we have today. So if you imagine in the World Trend Index that you have alluded to earlier, Amjad,
right.
The amount of productivity and gains from AI and from introducing this technology in the daily life of a knowledge worker is really huge, where you can go through emails really instead of spending hours looking at email. With one prompt you can know what are the top of your inbox, and people who are actually participating in that survey realized work or time savings of more than 30 minutes a day. Now, with AI, it's about skilling for the future. And what the government is focusing on is creating that national initiative in making sure that we are ready as a community at all levels, whether it's the executive level, decision-making level, the youth, the schools, at every level. We have to be ready as a community with all of those initiatives, because there will be a skill gap if we don't prepare for it. And according to the same study, more than 70% of CEOs who responded to the study said that they would prefer a person with less experience with AI skills than someone without AI skills. So that calls for the importance of skilling. Over the past period, in September of last year, we have worked with the Digital Government Authority and announced a Center of Excellence for AI, generative AI, with our partner PwC. In December, we announced the Center of Excellence for Emerging Technologies with KPMG, Microsoft KPMG, and MCIT. And the focus of that center is to support organizations to move into AI, utilize some use cases and apply it internally so they can actually leapfrog when it comes to AI adoption. And during LEAP conference, we announced the Center of Excellence for Skilling with MCIT, and that actually, part of it, it has multiple academies, but one of those academies when it comes to AI and the youth is working with King Salman Science Oasis. And that initiative focused on preparing students for Imagine Cup, which is a global competition that I'm sure a lot of you have heard about, that allows the students to participate in AI, create their own projects, touching AI, touching responsible AI, cybersecurity, and others. And during 2 months, we were able to train more than 2,000 students what is really inspiring is, and one of the very important reasons to believe is that we started a pilot with Insan Philanthropy, which focuses at orphans that are underprivileged. And 25 people of the 2,000 were coming from Insan. And as I stood there listening to one of the students presenting their project, it gave me goosebumps, because this child was coming from a community that is underserved, talking about AI, speaking in English, a language that he's not comfortable with, and describing his projects and talking about AI ethics, responsible AI, cybersecurity, and sustainability, about how his project is focusing on turning the water that is polluted and the technology that he's using it, and using simple English, like talking about microbes and like little animal going down to the earth. And with that, it's not only technology. We are empowering people who are underprivileged to find opportunities and giving them reason to believe in themselves and compete globally, and giving them and enabling them and empowering them to do even more. So it's beyond the technology, beyond the competition. It's actually changing lives. And this is really important.
Thank you, Zainab. This is it's truly a heartwarming and an inspiring story that you shared. So thank you so much for that. I'll turn it over to Jim. Jim, given your focus on global accessibility and inclusion, which of course is fundamental to so many things that we do, so wanted to get your thoughts on how do you see that evolving with AI becoming more and more prevalent?
Well, it's very important to understand that accessibility and inclusion, it goes beyond just what you can see with your own eyes. And I use myself as an example because as people walk me around backstage and things like that, they don't really understand that I have a hard time navigating environments and things like that because I don't wear my disability on my sleeve. It's a hidden disability. So understanding that accessibility is more than just sometimes more than what you can see, and to understand what people's needs are. And inclusion is actually making people feel that they're contributing, especially when we're dealing with a workplace, and making people feel that they belong is extremely important. And I say, which got me in trouble academically because it ended to me being dragged into a doctorate, but I said that belonging is the fuel of innovation. A lot of people look for, how to make innovation better, and they think that doing, like, I'm going to fail fast and fail often and fail hard, but a lot of people don't have the currency for failure. So when we're talking about, these projects, and what accessibility and inclusion does is it builds a segment of people who really feel like they belong, and that they really want to work towards, achieving outcomes that are important to them. So, and as far as AI goes, I'm looking for the companies that are trying to build and make humanity better. And like we saw YouGuides.ai yesterday talking about human user guides, because everyone in this audience is interpreting the world around them in a different way, because your brain is a very complex place. So I'm looking at those accessibility and inclusion projects that really get me going. That's what my passion is, and it's what I strongly believe in, that we should help humanity with AI tools that actually makes humanity understand humanity better, if that makes any sense. So long-winded, I may have been short-winded, but I feel like I'm jammering on, but I could talk about it forever. So.
No, absolutely. Again, inspiring to hear it directly from you, given that you live it day in and day out. And just to kind of share with you, at Microsoft, we also take accessibility and inclusion very seriously. So if there are any young generation audience here, you'll know that, even with the Xbox, we have made them friendly for folks who may not be able to use your hands and arms properly. So they have created the mouse, the controller, that can be controlled even with smallest gestures. I had a close friend of mine who passed away because of multiple sclerosis, and basically the body kind of dies, but your mind is still alive. So for that, we have at Microsoft, we had created a keyboard, which a screen with the screen in which it was operated by somebody who has MLS in a wheelchair, they operate the keyboard with the motion of their eyes. So that's again kind of piggybacking on, Jim, what you're talking about, leveraging AI and the tools that we have available today to cater to 1 billion people in this world who have some sort of a disability. So thank you very much. Dr. Rumman, I'll turn it over to you. Your second reason to believe was the ever more connected world. So not just from a national governance standpoint, but we are talking about the effective global governance, right? So if you can tell us, how you believe global governance is on the rise and how global bodies such as those focused on human rights and societal impact are having a significant impact. If you can elaborate on that, please.
Yes, absolutely. There's always a lot of focus in civil society on impact on things like fundamental human rights and elections, democracy, things like that. And, impact on wellness, mental health, and well-being. But we're seeing actually a lot of civil society and nonprofit organizations be more technically focused and technically savvy. I think as I talked to a few people at lunch that after this are heading up to Geneva for the UN AI for Good Summit. Of which a lot of corporations have a pretty big presence, as well as academics, policymakers, but importantly, civil society.
Right.
So it's governance is more than just government, right? Governance is when you see a law that's written that comes after a very long pathway from norms to culture to best practices, to standards, to the law. So the law is like the fundamental manifestation of it, but everything that comes before then was community built. It was built by academics, it was built by civil society, it was built by nonprofits, it was built by interested people, it's built by people like people on this panel. After that comes codified law. So what I am also enthusiastic about is not just that regulators, government entities are getting together, but the underpinning of the cultural and social movement to be more aware about artificial intelligence, to be more focused on achieving benefit from the technology. We're seeing that as well.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So again, from a governance standpoint, I'll talk a little bit towards the end, but that is something that we all as, not just as users, but companies that develop the products, they also adhere to certain standards. And so the government is obviously, one of the largest entities in the world when it comes to catering to the public. And so that's great to hear from you. Jim, I'll turn it over to actually to Zainab. Zainab, from a business leader standpoint, you alluded to the work trend index, right? But just as we are conscious as individuals of the increasing role in AI, so wanted to get your thoughts, how you reference kind of the degree to which companies in AI they are ready and able to implement AI in a way that kind of supports the businesses and their people. If you could elaborate on that and tie it back into the discussion we were just having.
Yeah, of course. So if we talk about business leaders and looking at the opportunity within AI, according to a study that was done in 2022, early 2022, the opportunity within AI is more than $15.1 billion to be realized by 2030. Bringing that number home, more than $135 billion can be contributed to the GDP coming from AI to Saudi Arabia. Now, this is before generative AI. And we've seen the adoption of AI generative AI is really transformative. It's nothing like it. It took about 20 years for PCs to reach 100 million users. It took the internet more than 10 years to reach 100 million users. It took ChatGPT only 2 months to reach 100 million users. So the adoption and the transformation is really huge. And companies, if they don't adopt AI, then they know that they're not really competitive. And according to the World Trend Index, 70% of CEOs, they understand that of the importance of the strategy, but 66% of them believe that they don't have a good enough plan or vision when it comes to AI. So in order for organizations to adopt AI, it's 3 areas that they need to look at.
Right.
The first one is the technology, the platform. What is the technology platform? And with all of the innovation, I think the question is clear. There are really the right foundation when it comes to technology. Second is the skills and the gaps that it creates. So skilling is very important to create that skill talent and ensure that everyone at every level is ready for AI and for AI adoption. And the third one is the processes and the governance of those processes. So Rumman talked about governance at a national level or at a global level, but also at organizations, the governance and the responsible AI is very important, and processes. So if you take it at a narrow level, at each, how can really organizations execute on that is to prioritize what are the processes that they can start with AI. For example, if you're looking at customer care, so how about the process of reducing the call center or improving the call center utilizing AI, and then tapping into all of the business leaders and having a champion within the organization with the sponsorship at the top level. And then finally, which as I mentioned, is also skilling those people and making sure that there is a continuous iterative process of ensuring that everyone is updated and there is an ongoing improvement in the skilling and training of those organizations.
Amazing. No, you're totally right. I mean, I've been dealing with customers since, I mean, for those of you familiar, Microsoft announced their generative AI tool, Copilot, more than a year ago, in March of last year. So I've been working with customers across the region, and one thing we have seen is unless and until there's a very strong sponsor at the top who understands the benefit that it brings, and then you have these small user groups where you have champions designated and they help the rest of the folks bring them along, it's set up for failure. So that's really important if you're looking at your organizations, how to build upon the moment of AI. That is really critical. Have a very strong sponsor up top, have designated work groups or champions who are going to help you amplify that. So I'll turn it over to Jim. Jim, you mentioned, given the global accessibility and inclusion. So from a technological standpoint, how do you believe that, the innovations that are coming up, that is really important to drive and bring that along with us?
Well, it's, not to talk about the same thing I just talked about, but when we're talking about accessibility and inclusion, we have companies who are loading, and creating models based on, data that they never used before to create models. They're basically looking at, their processes and making things more efficient, which is actually helping in the world of accessibility, making more accessible systems, understanding how people are actually using the technology, and using things internally to basically predict how people are using the technology that they're actually homegrowing. And outside of the accessibility and inclusion space, one of the biggest use cases that we see are people are actually trying to build language models based on their infrastructure. So they take all the telemetry and the logs and the application logging that's going on, and they're training AI models to understand that machine lexicon, so they can make the infrastructure more efficient, which then makes the humans that are maintaining that infrastructure less reactive. So in a way, it's creating a better workplace because they're getting better insights, from just massive quantities of petabytes worth of data around infrastructure, and understanding how to use that to run algorithms to actually self-heal infrastructure or remove things and stopping outages from actually happening. So as the technologies become more efficient, the way that they're managing the relationships with employees becomes more efficient. So just one example there.
No, amazing. Thank you so much. Dr. Rumman, any additional thoughts from you on how you see the digital paradox that we have, and when we talk about empowering using technology as a lever? Anything else that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So my nonprofit, Humane Intelligence, runs these things called red teaming challenges. If folks were here for the first panel this morning, I was talking a little bit about what I do. I've sort of had the ongoing theme of saying, I like that I see so many different kinds of groups and communities be engaged in responsible use. It's not just about technologists figuring out how to police ourselves.
Right.
It's about bringing in all these different perspectives. Now, one of the hardest problems to solve in improving at-scale systems is how do I get individual feedback from a person for whom this technology might not be working. So one of the things that I look at or think about is something, I call it structured public feedback. How can you capture public perception or public input from a particular community or a subset of people that directly goes and helps improve the models that are being built. So when we do these red teaming exercises, we partner with companies. So, you know, folks at Microsoft have actually been strong supporters of the kind of work we do, and we actually gather input, and it's not just an educational exercise, it's not just about building critical thinking, all of that is true, but also that the data collected is specifically targeted so that they're getting input from communities that traditionally wouldn't be engaged. So one of the things that I'm excited about is the revolution of generative AI's revolution in accessibility, that everybody now has a sophisticated AI system in the palm of their hand. It helped people understand what this technology does and how to use it. But it also helped people like myself design these exercises to be accessible to anybody. You don't need to know how to program in order to evaluate an AI system. That was a pretty big revolution, because prior to that, when I would do this kind of work, like we have done, you know, crowdsourced competitions, algorithmic bias bounties, you had to be a programmer to participate in it, and now you don't. So that's one thing I am also quite enthusiastic about.
Amazing. No, thank you so much for that. Jim, any thoughts from you in addition to what you just shared? Any closing comments from you?
Oh, there's way too many rattling around the background. So. No, I mean, as we look at this, you know, it's like what Zainab was saying about how fast the adoption has been. And if you listen to that it took 2 months, you know, you know, if you haven't done, you know, a great deal of research around generative AI and you run a business, it's time to start to do that. And you know, to start to think about what is going to get the most out of your employees and create the, you know, the ultimate stack for employee engagement and to make people feel like they're, you know, they're actually belonging. And you know, the reason for that is that you'll find that as you implement new things that your adoption will be better and your outcomes will be achieved much more efficiently. So, so I'm all about making the culture more inclusive and helping this advancement of you know, especially what's going on with generative AI. It's a wonderful time to you know, to start working about how all of this is going to impact culture and to get the most out of the folks that are working for you. So. Hopefully that makes sense.
Thanks, Jim. You know, I'll give you an example. The day and age that we live in, I think we're at the cutting edge of technology, and we are lucky and privileged to be living around right now. Several hundred years ago, the Romans, you know, they had these hundreds of miles long of aqueducts where they would move water, right? And then about 10, 15 years ago, we all got the mobile phones and with the world at our palms with all the knowledge and the information. So that was quite revolutionary. I think the generative AI is the next frontier, and it's not tomorrow, it's not next month, it is here today, and it's here to stay. So it's a great time for us to be in this journey together. Zainab, any closing remarks from you?
Yeah, I think my closing note is that AI is here to stay, and it's going to be, even with more technologies, it's going to be really faster in adoption. I think my take-home message is, before you do anything, ask yourself, can AI help me or not, at an organizational level and at an individual level. If I use AI, how can I do this better? Whether you're writing a document, a presentation, doing a research, or starting a new startup, or at an organizational level. Because that will really make you competitive and will make you learn more about AI.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So with that, I really want to thank the three of you for your immense insights and your time, and the audience for listening intently. With closing, I wanted to share with you, at Microsoft, our Chief Legal Counsel, Brad Smith, he has written a book called Tools and Weapons. And it's a very, very interesting book that he has written. And in that, he talks about, you know, when your technology changes the world, you bear the responsibility to help address the world that you have helped create. So the onus is on all of us together. And lastly, I also want to mention, based on especially what Jim was talking about, inclusivity, Every product that we are developing at Microsoft, there are 6 principles that we adhere by. Every single product has to follow these 6 principles. We call them the AI principles. One is fairness, making that sure that every person in this world, they are treated equally. When they look for information, they are treated the same. Second is the privacy and the security, which is, of course, of utmost importance to all of us. Third one is reliability and safety. We have children accessing the web. They have these tools available to them. How do we ensure their privacy and security is maintained? Then inclusiveness is another one, and transparency and accountability. Accountability meaning that every single organization that develops these tools is accountable for what they put out there and what is being served to you as customers.